When you're going through a divorce, one of the most critical and time-consuming parts of that process is dividing your assets and liabilities. In New York, marriage is considered an economic partnership. That means that the contributions of both spouses are taken into consideration in dividing their assets. These contributions can include income earned while working outside of the home or working within the home as a homemaker or caring for the children of the marriage. In New York, assets are divided by a 3-step process called equitable distribution. The first step is determining whether an asset is marital or separate. Ideally, that can be proven pretty quickly through documentation, although even this step can get complicated depending on the circumstances of the case. Marital property includes all property acquired during the marriage, regardless of whose name title is held in. For example, if your spouse has a checking account held solely in their name, but it contains income that they earned during the marriage, that will still be deemed marital property. Separate property includes property acquired before the marriage, property acquired through inheritance or by a gift from someone other than your spouse, personal injury compensation, income from or the increase in value in your separate property, and separate property acquired in exchange for separate property. Usually that means purchasing property using only separate property funds. Separate property may contain a marital component and is often an area of dispute in many divorces. For example, if your separate property increased in value during the marriage through the active efforts of your spouse, say they assisted in your separate property business or they helped renovate your separate property residence during the marriage, then a court may deem that to be a product of your economic partnership, in which case that increase in value may be deemed a marital asset. The second step in equitable distribution is determining the value of the marital property, which we can accomplish in many different ways. Often, we use financial experts like appraisers or valuation experts. For more complicated assets like a business, we may decide that we need to retain a forensic accountant to help determine the value of that business. The final step is the actual distribution of the marital property, which in New York is equitable and not necessarily equal. In determining the distribution of marital property, a court will take many factors into consideration. Those include the length of the marriage, the age and health of each of the spouses, contributions that each of the spouses made during the marriage, including both financial and non-financial, and the future financial circumstances of each spouse, including looking at their work history, their earning capacity, and their ability to rely on separate property to support themselves. So they'll look at whether they stand to have a large inheritance or if they have a substantial family trust that they can rely on. Oftentimes, in long-term marriages or in marriages with children, marital assets will be divided equally. Typically, business interests may be distributed on an uneven basis. So the non-titled spouse might still be entitled to receive anywhere between 10 to 30% of the value of that business. Equitable distribution can be one of the most complicated parts of your divorce. Given what's at stake, it's important to have an attorney guide you through the process to ensure the best possible outcome.